Okay, welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday webinette day. We're just chatting with my colleagues that our webinette time is coming to an end. The webinettes had a very specific purpose through the pandemic, and we've kept them going the last couple of years because people were coming, you were coming. And so we felt like this was a really nice touch point between CTL and instructors across the university, and the little 10-minute inputs that we would put together for you. You would come, but we'd also have good chats afterwards. So we've kept them going. However, I believe not this one is the last one, but I think there's one more this month, and then the webinettes will come to a natural end, and we'll find some other fun ways in our programming to keep engaged with the larger university community. So here we are today. My name is Anita Parker, and I'm one of the educational developers at the Center for Teaching and Learning. The title of my presentation today is Top 5 Challenges and Solutions of Online Teaching and Learning in 2023. So just wanting to let everyone know that we're still having some issues and we're finding solutions. All right, my intention for the next few minutes is to affirm that online education is here to stay. There's not 5 challenges, there's 5 categories of challenges. So I'll present those to you, and as well as a couple of solutions. There's lots of solutions, but I'm just going to put forth a few ideas, and then afterwards we'll have our QA and sharing. As I've done in the past, I've created my speaking notes in the form of an article. So the bit.ly that you see on the screen there, you can just write it down with a pen. It's meant to be easy, so it's easy to type into the URL at the top of your Chrome, is where you can access the article that I put together for you, which also includes references at the end. Okay, did you know online course enrollments are increasing by approximately 10% every year in Canadian universities? 2018, that is a pre-pandemic quote. Most Canadian post-secondary institutions view online learning as extremely important in their future plans. Again, same article, 2018. As digital learning in Canada has grown, so has training and support for faculty have also become increasingly necessary. 2021, so that's a little bit more recent. And this last quote, 2012, the new classroom is a flat screen. I'm not sure that's completely true, but you can see that 11 years ago, that seemed to be a thought of the direction that we were heading. So bottom line is that online learning is here to stay. There's challenges, so let's acknowledge the challenges and see if we can find some solutions. There are advantages of online learning, or potential advantages: flexibility, accessibility, inclusivity, reduced costs. Again, these are all potential. They can probably be argued either way, but potential advantages, greater collaboration opportunities for students, greater opportunities, for example, to bring in guest instructors, etc. There's a whole lot more advantages for students as well, for an institution overall. So it's not a question of if we should continue offering online education, but a question of how. How can we overcome barriers and continue to improve the student experience? The challenges, here are my 5 categories for you. Number 1, technical issues. Number 2 and number 3, I'm going to talk about them together: lack of motivation and feelings of isolation. Number 4, ineffective time management. These are all for not just for students, but for instructors as well, and inability to manage distractions and stay focused. So again, I'll summarize the categories and put forth just some ideas for solutions. The technical number 1 category, I'm going to organize it into 3 subpoints: availability, accessibility, and proficiency. Availability refers to the hardware, the software. Maybe it's a cost reason why it may or may not be available. Maybe it's a supply chain reason. Maybe it's connectivity, internet speed, bandwidth. Those three things, they're related terms, but they are slightly different each. So one solution to overcome the availability issue of technology is to choose your tech mindfully. There has to be some educational technology in online education. It's online. Everybody needs some kind of device, preferably a laptop. Everyone needs to have internet access, audio, microphone, video, camera, the software, the Zoom application software, eClass, Google Suite, etc. But additional technologies need to definitely add educational value. So when you're choosing your technology, hardware or software, you want to consider that technology has three purposes: to deliver information, to engage students, and to assess students. And it can be a tug of war. Some technologies are very advantageous or actually essential for students to gain knowledge and skills and to connect with each other. And some technologies are just bells and whistles. They're fun, but they're not necessary, or they could even be detrimental to student learning. Maybe it's a technology that it allows the student to take a shortcut such that now the student doesn't actually understand what they're learning. Maybe it's a technology that somehow further increases the digital divide. So if you want to know more, we have a webinette for that. My colleague, Chris Borger, a couple of weeks ago, January, I believe, 22nd, gave a webinette called When Bells and Whistles Come Before Teaching Practice. So this is just a screenshot. You go to that ctl.ualberta.ca. If you scroll down a little bit on our homepage, there is an area that says Wednesday webinettes, and you can click on it to take you to the videos there. All right, so that was availability. Accessibility refers to potential barriers for students in terms of auditory, speech, physical, or neurological considerations. And one solution or one strategy is to build and deliver your courses with UDL in mind, Universal Design for Learning. Really choose your teaching materials and develop your teaching materials and your strategies with all students in mind, assuming that all students can benefit what otherwise might be reserved for a case-by-case accommodation. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that, except to tell you there's a webinette for that. Go to the library. I'm telling you that we're at the natural end of our webinette programming, but when you go to our page on our website, you'll be I don't know what you'll be. Maybe you'll be happy, overwhelmed, impressed. There's a lot of videos there that are resources for you. And this one is called Tips on How to Incorporate Universal Design Principles into Your Remote Teaching. And the last one to do with technology is proficiency. Proficiency refers to your students' ability to use all the technology that we have in our online teaching these days, as well as the time and resources to increase your technology skills, your students' technology skills. Instructors can seek PD and practice, and we as instructors can build our own skills over time. Instructors can help students as well by providing resources such as how-to videos or tutorials, and to actually integrate practice with the technology into the course curriculum. So that's the challenge category of technology. How about challenges 2 and 3 together? Lack of motivation and feelings of isolation. Teaching and learning online, being physically alone, can be demotivating and isolating. So that lack of an expectation to show up at a physical classroom at a set time every week, and lacking that physical presence, the energy of being in a room with others, can be uninspiring and potentially lonely. So the two bullets I have there are approaches that instructors can take about considering the learning community, the student-to-student interactions, and considering the student-to-instructor interaction by through building a rapport with your students. And there's a webinette for that. Last fall, I had a series of webinettes, and the last one in the series was called Supporting Relatedness in an Online Course, where I talk about those two different types of interactions, about student to student. In other words, getting students talking to each other. What kind of activities can you do in your classes that get students talking to each other? And what can you do as an instructor to communicate with your students throughout the duration of a semester to build a rapport with them? So again, I'm not going to go into the finer details of that, but to point you to the webinette resource for that. Challenge number 4, ineffective time management. For instructors, online education requires a lot of time. Teaching in general does, but online teaching really requires time to plan and build your teaching materials to facilitate students learning throughout a course. And the time management part for students relates to online learning potentially giving them a false sense of extra time, which can lead to procrastination. So how can instructors help students with their time management? Just a few ideas for you. Communication of the day-by-day workload or the weekly workload and deadlines that students have to hand things in by or have things prepared by. And this can be done by having not just a midterm and a final, a summative high-stakes midterm, a summative high-stakes final in a course, but to have things every week, to have reasons for students to be engaged, to meet deadlines, to put things in their calendar week by week, and have them build up their course grade over time. One example of this, and I've spoken about this before in previous webinars, is scaffolded assignments, where there's a larger deliverable that students hand in at the end of term. Maybe it's an essay, but along the way, there's building blocks that they complete and get feedback on. So, for example, on that essay, they could propose an essay topic and get feedback. They could hand in an outline draft and get feedback. They could come to class with a first draft of their essay done, or a paragraph or two, and the instructor can facilitate a peer review exercise within class time, and students get feedback, etc. So that, again, that engagement on more frequent week by week can help with the time management and prevent the procrastination that can happen when students cram for a midterm or cram for that final exam. All right, so that was challenge number 4. Challenge number 5 of 5 category, again, not just one challenge, but many, is to manage distractions and stay focused. Online learning involves technology, involves us having a laptop open, a Chrome browser open, and the tendency to open up more tabs and get lots done with our time or be distracted by things. Technology brings forth time wasters, such as watching videos not related to the course content, scrolling through social media or online shopping, notifications that pop up 24/7, video games. So those 4 have to do with, they're digital. These last 3 aren't digital. Standing in line for coffee or food, studying without a plan, and being in an unproductive study group. So there's lots of ways that students can waste time in an online course. And the solution to any distractions or any trying to stay focused is to be aware of the problem. So it's okay to bring students awareness to asking students to close their tabs, to please focus on the class. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but at least you've acknowledge the problem and encourage them to focus on their learning. How to avoid time wasters? That's simple. Close those tabs. Turn off your notifications. If you're taking a break, make it a non-digital one. Pack a lunch instead of standing in line for coffee or food. Play your video games later. Learn how to study. That bit.ly that I gave you at the beginning of the presentation to the article in the resources, there's a McGuire et al. 2015. It's an article on learning how to learn, learning how to study. And it's a good resource. So help your students learn how to study, how to learn. And if students are in an unproductive study group, leave the group, make the group more productive, or start a new group that has the mission to be more productive there. So that's some ideas for that challenge, those challenges there. Okay, so here they are, the 5 categories of challenges we are still facing with online learning in 2023, post-pandemic, and definitely the way that education is going to continue to go. Not every course needs to be an online course. Not every instructor needs to teach online. Not every student needs to take an online class ever. But overall, online teaching and learning will continue to be a significant component of post-secondary education. The good news is that the advantages are many. The challenges, although I don't want to say the challenges are few, the challenges are also many, but the challenges have solutions. Some of the that I put forth today, some that I suspect you have been discovering and trying out over time. So that's the end of my part. So let me ask you, do you agree? Do you have challenges that might nicely fit into some of the categories that I've presented? You have a whole different category that I didn't even think of. What are your challenges, and what kinds of things are you up to overcome those challenges?